is supported by SMC Global Power.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching Eagle News International. Good evening, CJ.
Good evening, Alma, and good evening to everyone joining us tonight. Here are the headlines.
Today, the world passed another somber pandemic milestone, 5 million lives lost to COVID-19. And in a statement, the UN Secretary General asked world leaders to honor these lives by making vaccine equity a reality.
World leaders meeting at COP26 in Glasgow issue a multi-billion-dollar pledge to protect forests. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says that the pledge is the biggest collective commitment of public funds for forest and climate action in history.
And at least 19 people were killed and 50 others injured in an attack on a military hospital in Kabul, the latest assault to rock Afghanistan since the Taliban seized power.
10 members of the Iglesia.
And the worldwide aid to humanity in different parts of the globe.
Now, today, the world passed another somber pandemic milestone, 5 million lives lost to COVID-19. In a statement, the UN Secretary General asked world leaders to honor these lives by making vaccine equity a reality. Take a look.
Early this morning, you will have seen that we issued a message from the Secretary General on the 5 millionth death worldwide due to COVID-19. He stressed that this is not just a number on a page, but represents lives cut short by a merciless virus that respects no borders. The Secretary General called it a global shame that while wealthy countries are rolling out third doses of the COVID-19 vaccine, only about 5% of people in Africa are fully vaccinated. He also noted that 5 million deaths should also stand as a clear warning that we cannot let our guard down. We are still seeing more deaths with overcrowded hospitals and exhausted healthcare workers. We also see the risk of new variants spreading and claiming more lives. He once again called on world leaders to fully support the global vaccination strategy he launched with the World Health Organization last month. We need to get vaccines in the arms of 40% of people in all countries by the end of this year and 70% by mid-2022.
The Octa Research Group has backed the government proposal to downgrade the alert level 3 in the National Capital Region, or NCR. Octa Research Group member Guido David said the region is now under moderate risk in terms of COVID-19 cases after registering a daily attack rate at 5.72%.
Noise dito. Pero nakita natin ay tuwing nagkaka-surge, tumataas yung testing capacity natin. Pero pag pababa na yung trend ng cases, ay bumababa na rin yung testing natin in accordance with the lesser, fewer cases. Pero ang mahalaga dyan, dahil nakikita natin na 5% na lang yung positivity rate, it means na talagang bumababa na ang ang cases natin sa Metro Manila, at hindi lang sa Metro Manila, pati rin sa iba-ibang regions sa buong bansa. May LGUs na may positive 1-week growth rate, ibig sabihin tumaas siya ng konti. Yung week-to-week comparison. Pero yung reproduction number natin ay lahat less than 0.9. Pati sa Metro Manila, 0.53. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Ang ginagamit naming basihan for a trend kung pataas or pababa ay yung reproduction number. And kung 0.9 or less ang reproduction number, in fact, karamihan ng mga LGUs nasa 0.5 to 0.6. So, ibig sabihin niya, lahat ng LGUs ay pababa yung overall trend niya. Based sa metrics na ginagamit namin, based on COVID Act now, ay nasa low risk ang Metro Manila at ang actually, all 17 LGUs based sa aming pag-aaral ay nasa low risk. So, anong ibig sabihin yan? Yung alert level 2, syempre, yung alert level system, ang basis niyan, ang ginagamit natin yung metrics ng Department of Health and ng IATF. So sila yung mag-recommend kung mabababa sa alert level 2. Pero based sa aming pagbasa ng datos, ay it's actually safe to reopen our businesses at this time.
Yung tinitingnan lang po kasi ng Okta is the numbers, yung nire-release ng DOH data drop.
All right, the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases is studying the possibility of lifting the current policy on the use of face shields in the country, according to Malacanang. In an online press briefing, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the significant drop in the coronavirus disease cases might persuade the IATF-EID to withdraw the requirement of wearing a face shield on top of a face mask. Let's listen in.
Important that we work.
Kung mababa ang numero, marami ng kumbaga nagsasabi sa IATF na baka dapat itignan ng pagkasuot ng face shields. Pero wala pa pong desisyon na susuot pa rin po tayo ng face shields. Linilinaw ko lang po, bagamat tumadaming sumusuporta doon sa hindi na paggamit ng face shields dahil bumababa ang numero, sa ngayon po isuot pa rin po natin ang face shields.
Doubles yung iba. Yung important dyan is the eye protection. Alam rin kasi natin na pwedeng pumasok ang COVID through your eyes, and even yung tears natin, kung may COVID kayo, pwede magkaroon ng COVID. So aside from the double layer of protection, yung eye protection is also kind of important. And kaya nga rin yung nakakalusot yung iba kahit naka-double mask sila dahil pwede pa rin pumasok yung virus sa mata.
President Duterte in June this year ordered the public to wear face shields only in hospitals, but immediately decided to keep the IATF-EID's original policy following the presence of more infectious Delta variant. He, however, decided in September this year to just limit the use of face shields in the so-called 3Cs, which refers to closed and crowded spaces and close contact.
Through your eyes, and even yung tears natin, kung may COVID ka.
Staying in the Philippines, the Department of Health on Tuesday logged 2,303 new COVID-19 cases, the lowest single-day number of infections in nearly 8 months, to bring the country's tally to 2,792,656. In its 4 p.m. case bulletin, the agency also reported 4,677 new recoveries and 128 new deaths. The figures brought the total number of recovered cases to 2,708,468 and the death toll to 43,404. The new infections pushed the active cases to 40,786, with 71.2% listed as mild, 5.2% asymptomatic, 3.2% critical, 7.5% severe, and 13.02% moderate. On March 10, the DOH recorded below 3,000 cases after reporting 2,886 infections.
Meanwhile, the Octa Research Group has backed the government proposal to downgrade the Alert Level 3 in the National Capital Region, or NCR. Octa Research Group member Guido David said the region is now under moderate risk in terms of COVID cases after registering a daily attack rate at 5.72%. Let's listen in.
Dito. Pero ang nakita natin ay tuwing nagkaka-surge, tumataas yung testing capacity natin. Pero pag pababa na yung trend ng cases, ay bumababa na rin yung testing natin in accordance with the lesser, fewer cases. Pero ang mahalaga dyan, dahil nakikita natin na 5% na lang yung positivity rate, it means na talagang bumababa na ang ang cases natin sa Metro Manila, at hindi lang sa Metro Manila, pati rin sa iba-ibang regions sa buong bansa. May LGUs na may positive 1-week growth rate, ibig sabihin tumaas siya ng konti. Yung week-to-week comparison. Pero yung reproduction number natin ay lahat less than 0.9. Pati sa Metro Manila, 0.53. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Ang ginagamit naming basihan for a trend kung pataas or pababa ay yung reproduction number. And kung 0.9 or less ang reproduction number, in fact, karamihan ng mga LGUs nasa 0.5 to 0.6. So ibig sabihin niya, lahat ng LGUs ay pababa yung overall trend niya. Based doon sa metrics na ginagamit namin, based on COVID Act now, ay nasa low risk ang Metro Manila at ang mga, actually all 17 LGUs based sa aming pag-aaral ay nasa low risk. So anong ibig sabihin yan? Yung alert level 2, syempre yung alert level system, ang basis niyan, ang ginagamit natin yung metrics ng Department of Health and ng IATF. So sila yung magre-recommend kung mabababa sa alert level 2. Pero based sa aming pagbasa ng datos, ay it's actually safe to reopen our businesses at this time.
Yung tinitingnan lang po kasi ng OCTA is the numbers, yung nire-release ng DOH sa data drop na alam naman natin available sa lahat, pero mas malalim po na analysis ang ginagawa ng IATM at ng sub-technical working group. And of course, we work with the LGUs to make sure na it's safe. So kailangan po talaga natin pag-aralan yan. Alam naman natin na very dynamic naman po ang ating IATF sa pagtingin ng numbers. And hindi lang po yung mga numbers nga sa data drop. Ang important po yung mga on the ground po, yung ating MMDA mayors na tinitingnan po talaga kung paano nag-behave yung mga tao. So rather than making these pronouncements, it's really important that we work with the local governments para alam po talaga natin kung ano yung sitwasyon sa on the ground.
To the U.S. now, the number of New York firefighters requesting sick leave has surged in recent days in what officials said Monday was a protest against the city's COVID-19 vaccine mandate, though they added that all the firehouses remained open. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio said some 9,000 workers citywide were going on unpaid leave, while 12,000 had applied for exemptions. Take a look.
We've got now approximately 9,000 city employees on leave without pay today. So let's do it again. 9,000 city employees in leave without pay status at this moment, out of a workforce of almost 400,000. So that's less than 6% of the entire workforce. Now, again, every one of those 9,000 is welcome to come back, get vaccinated.
The mandate for all the city's roughly 378,000 employees kicked in Monday, and those who still refuse to be inoculated risk being put on unpaid leave. They no longer have the option of providing a negative test instead, but medical and religious exemptions will be allowed. The vaccination rate reached 80% on Sunday among the city's 17,000 firefighters, compared with 60% on October 19. That is still one of the lowest figures among the city services. 96% of teachers and 84% of police have complied with the mandate, so far running smoothly.
100,000.
Meanwhile, China's government has urged citizens to stock up on daily necessities and for authorities to take steps to ensure adequate food supplies as the country adopts increasingly tight measures to contain its latest COVID outbreak. A notice posted on the website of the Ministry of Commerce late on Monday urged families to store a certain amount of daily necessities as needed to meet daily life emergencies. The directive made no mention of a food shortage or whether the instructions were motivated by fears that COVID measures could disrupt supply chains or leave lockdown citizens in need of food. But China, which has kept its infection numbers relatively low through a COVID-0 strategy of border closures, targeted lockdowns, and long quarantine periods, is increasingly adopting tough measures to contain the latest outbreak, especially ahead of the Beijing Winter Olympics beginning on February 4.
Shanghai Disneyland closes over a single coronavirus case as Chinese authorities press ahead with their zero infection strategy before the Winter Olympics. Late in the night, more than 200 buses took people home for 2 days of self-isolation and further testing. Another 100,000 people who visited the park on the weekend will also be tested. The news filtered through the throngs of park goers but caused no panic despite the worsening outbreak of Delta across 16 Chinese provinces. As they moved towards the exit, the crowd learned no one could leave until all were tested. The surreal scenes were prompted by the discovery of one case, a Saturday visitor, Shanghai, who was later found to be positive. Now, reports were conflicted on whether she had even gone to Disneyland.
Indonesia, hard hit by the pandemic, became the first country to approve the new vaccine for COVID-19 created by US-based Novavax, according to the company. The approval will give Indonesia, which has trained to obtain adequate supplies of coronavirus vaccine for its 270 million people, first access to the vaccine, which will be manufactured in India under the brand Covovax. The vaccines uses a different technology than those which already have gained general approval and circulated around the world. Unlike the mRNA products from BioNTech, Pfizer, Moderna, and CureVac, Novavax's two-jab vaccine relies on a more traditional technique, using proteins to carry fragments of the coronavirus rendered harmless to produce an immune reaction. In addition, the vaccine can be held at higher temperatures than others, 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, making its transportation and storage easier, especially in developing countries.
In response to the ongoing pandemic, the Iglesia ni Cristo has extended its assistance to those in need in different parts of Japan. The Church of Christ continues to demonstrate an unwavering commitment to the global campaign against poverty. We have Lou Stefan Omelda reporting from Nagoya.
Our religious organization made this day even more beautiful for their local officials and residents here in Kanie, a small town here in the Aichi Prefecture, Japan, because of the hygiene goods that they donated. Ministers and members of the Iglesia ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, turned over boxes of donations filled with alcohol, masks, and tissue today to the local government of Kanie as part of their worldwide Aid to Humanity program. The town of Kanie is just one of the 3 locations here in the southwestern part of Japan for the worldwide Aid to Humanity program of the Church of Christ. The other 2 locations include the Kasugai City, also in Aichi Prefecture, and social welfare institutions in Nagoya, Japan. The coronavirus pandemic has been raging on for almost 2 years, and the economic damage it brought is especially evident in big cities like Tokyo and Osaka. However, even in small towns and municipalities, people had to adjust their lifestyles in order to survive the current situation. Money that is usually spent on food, clothing, and leisure now has to be allocated to the new basic needs: alcohol, masks, and other virus protection goods. To help address this, the Iglesia ni Cristo amplified their Aid to Humanity program into a worldwide program simultaneously done this October to focus on providing donations that are more useful in fighting the virus. The outreach activity here in Kanie was led by the District Supervising Minister of the District of Nagoya, Japan, Brother Amante P. Rodriguez, and other ministers in the district, together with some members who are also residents of Kanie.
Thanks so much. Itong COVID-19 ay marami nang naapektuhan, buhay at kabuhayan. Kaya naman ang Iglesia ni Cristo, kung papaanong walang kalamidad, tumutulong sa kapwa, lalo na sa panahong dumarating ang kalamidad o kaya gaya nitong pandemya, ipinakikita natin ang ating pagtulong sa kapwa.
On August 31st this year, this town reached their peak of COVID cases, reporting 1,611 new cases and an average of 1,814 cases in 7 days. Thankfully, the cases then started to dramatically decrease and went down to its lowest record yet, an average of 28 cases in 7 days. The mayor of the town of Kanye also granted the Church of Christ a certificate of appreciation to show their gratitude upon receiving the donations.
Iglesia 教会でも、非教会はカネ町に対し深いご理解とご厚情により消毒液等を寄付をされました。ここに深く感謝の意を表します。令和3年10月21日、カネ町長横尾淳一、メイヤーオブカネタウン、Thank you so much。どうもありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。出た時に今まで経験したことのない恐怖を町民は味わったと思うんです。はい、特にマスクがない、はい、それから消毒液がない、それからティッシュも全てのものが今のこの便利な時代から全部世の中からなくなったんですよ、一時。だからすごいパニックっちゃったわけですよ。みんなパニックを起こしてしまって、あるんだけどそれが手に来ないという、手に入らないということで、我々としてもいろんなところへマスクの調達だとかしたんですが、まず最初に先ほど言いました2つから3つの会社からマスクをいただいたのはすごく嬉しかったです。で今そういう団体の皆さん方からもう今しばらくはもうマスクも来てないんですけど、でもこうやっていただけるってことは加齢町3万7,000人人口いますので、何かの時にお役に立てさせていただけるとありがたいと思います。本当嬉しく思います。
When asked why the members of the Iglesia ni Cristo continue to conduct these outreach activities despite experiencing the struggle brought by the pandemic themselves, they expressed that extending a helping hand to the community is an important doctrine that they follow inside their church. From Nagoya, Japan, Lou Stefano Melda, Worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan Special Coverage.
Meanwhile, winter season sparked the Iglesia ni Cristo or Church of Christ members in the United Kingdom to give generous donations of winter clothing and care packages. This Aid to Humanity initiative is being conducted simultaneously around the world to extend their help to those in need. Here's Erica Celestino for the report.
As the daylight hours shorten and the cold winter is fast approaching, this sparked the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ to hold a winter donation drive through an open-door charity event for their local communities and charities. I'm currently in the compound of one of the INC chapels in Birmingham, in the West Midlands of England, witnessing the Aid to Humanity event hosted by the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ.
Today's event is a concerted effort of all its members across the UK and Ireland, giving away a great number of winter clothing items, such as coats, jackets, beanies, scarves, and gloves. There are also tote bags that are handed out for free, containing canned and non-perishable food products, as well as essential self-care items such as vitamins, hand sanitizers, soaps, toothbrushes, and other basic necessities of similar kinds. Among the list of guests witnessing this grand event, there are some local councillors who were invited. Representatives from local charities are also here to receive the generous donations by the Iglesia ni Cristo. This humanitarian effort is evident in the way the INC members warmly welcome their fellow men into their compound. Apart from receiving the donated items, there are also refreshments and a short tour inside their chapel, where they hold their worship services to introduce them to the INC faith. Of course, everything is done in a safe and cautious manner, even though COVID-19 restrictions are easing up here in the UK. It has taken INC members many weeks to prepare for this Aid to Humanity event, which is also global in scale. In times of global financial crisis and uncertainties brought about by the ongoing pandemic, this generous act of giving displayed by the Iglesia ni Cristo brings out a positive vibe of community spirit amongst those here today.
Thank you, Church of Christ!
From Birmingham, United Kingdom, I am Arabel Celestino for the Iglesia ni Cristo Worldwide Aid to Humanity special coverage.
And the news continues here on Eagle News. We'll be right back.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. May lalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Welcome back to the news. As day 2 of the COP26 climate conference got underway, UN Chief Antonio Guterres sent a stark message to the world. Let's listen in.
The 6 years since the Paris Climate Agreement have been the 6 hottest years on record. Our addiction to fossil fuels is pushing humanity to the brink. We face a stark choice. Either we stop it or it stops us. And it's time to say enough. Enough of brutalizing biodiversity. Enough of killing ourselves with carbon. Enough of treating nature like a toilet. Enough of burning and drilling and mining our way deeper. We are digging our own graves.
In my lifetime, I've witnessed a terrible decline. In yours, you could and should witness a wonderful recovery. That desperate hope, ladies and gentlemen, delegates, excellency, is why the world is looking to you and why you are here.
COP26, which runs through November 12, is where countries will step up ambition to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius.
Meanwhile, world leaders meeting at the COP26 in Glasgow issued a multi-billion-dollar pledge to protect forests. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says that the pledge is the biggest collective commitment of public funds for forests and climate action in history. Take a look.
That the world is coming together around their effort, your effort, with at least $1.5 billion over the next 5 years to help protect the forests, peatlands and precious ecosystems of Central Africa. And this is part of a new global forest finance pledge of over, wait for it, of over $12 billion, amounting to the biggest collective commitment of public funds for forest and climate action in history.
The United States will help the world deliver on our shared goal of halting natural forest loss and restoring at least an additional 200 million hectares of forest and other ecosystems by the year 2030. This plan is the first of its kind, and taking a whole-of-government approach and working in our case with Congress to deploy up to $9 billion in U.S. funding through 2030 to conserve and restore our forests. Confident we can do this. All we need to do is summon the will.
Signatories include Brazil and Russia, which have been singled out for accelerating deforestation in their territories, as well as the United States, China, Australia, and France. The Forest Pact was the first of two anticipated announcements in Glasgow on Tuesday, with government set to unveil a global agreement to reduce emissions of methane, a powerful greenhouse gas, by 30% this decade. Governments of 28 countries also committed to remove deforestation from the global trade of food and other agricultural products such as palm oil, soya, and cocoa. Now, these industries drive forest loss by cutting down trees to make space for animals to graze or crops to grow. Almost 200 countries are being asked for their plans to cut emissions, and it could lead to major changes to everyday lives.
The Philippine government has ordered video streaming company Netflix to remove parts of the Australian drama series Pine Gap on its platform for violating Philippine sovereignty and featuring a map of the 9-dash line, an invisible demarcation used by China to refer to its claim in the South China Sea. Netflix has apparently removed episodes 2 and 3 of the series, saying the parts were removed by government demand. Now, Rachel Arenas, who was chair of the Broadcasting Authority when the decision was handed down, told AFP that Netflix had been ordered to remove episodes 2, 3, and 4. Episode 4 was still available Monday. The DFA said the board has ruled that certain episodes of Pine Gap are unfit for public exhibition. In its decision, the MTRCB noted that under a whole-of-nation approach, every instrumentality of the government, whenever presented with the opportunity, has the responsibility to counter China's aggressive actions in the West Philippine Sea to assert the Philippines' territorial integrity. It stressed that the portrayal of the illegal 9-dash line in Pine Gap is no accident, as it was consciously designed and calculated to specifically convey a message that China's 9-dash line legitimately exists. Earlier this year, Vietnam lodged a complaint over the same issue, prompting Netflix to pull the entire 6-episode drama in the country. Beijing has ignored a 2016 International Tribunal decision that declared its historical claim over most of the South China Sea, a key global shipping route, to be without basis.
To other news now, at least 19 people were killed and 50 others injured in an attack on a military hospital in Kabul on Tuesday, the latest assault to rock Afghanistan since the Taliban seized power. 2 blasts struck close to the entrance of the sprawling site, followed by reports of shooting inside the hospital, according to the Taliban and a witness. The blasts add to a growing list of attacks and killings since the Taliban completed their victory over the previous Western-backed government in August, undermining their claim to have restored security to Afghanistan after decades of war. ISIL-affiliate Islamic State in Khorasan province, or ISKP or ISIS-K, which has carried out a series of attacks on mosques and other targets since the Taliban seizure of Kabul in August, mounted a complex attack on the 400-bed hospital in 2017, killing more than 30 people.
Nigerian rescue crews pulled 2 more survivors out of a collapsed Lagos high-rise building on Tuesday and were communicating with others buried inside the rubble. A day after the disaster killed at least 7 and left many more trapped. The 21-story building was still under construction when it fell abruptly into a pile of concrete slabs on Monday in the wealthy Ikoyi district of Nigeria's commercial capital. Rescuers say they have so far managed to pull 7 survivors out of the wreckage, but construction workers fear dozens of their colleagues are trapped inside. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari, in a statement late Monday, urged the authorities to step up efforts in rescue operations for the victims. Eagle News will be back with more stories. Please don't go away.
Dito nyo lang unang maririnig. Breaking news.
Talagang napag-isipan ninyo, wag na pong tumakbo.
Si Mayor Sara ay tatakbo. I will seriously consider.
Pati meron mas maganda pang mechanism para matulungan natin yung ating mga super. Ito yung Pantawid Pasada Program.
Ano sa palagay ninyo? Suspindihin muna yung excise tax on fuel o kawalan naman ng 131.4 billion sa government revenues na pandemic response natin yan sa 2022.
Mga isyong siguradong tatatak sa inyong umaga. Better Stories.
Sabi nga mawala ka na ng kuryente, huwag ka lang mawala ng tubig. Ako, I agree. Paano ka maglilinis? Paano ka maliligo? Doon talaga nag-uumpisa ang sakit. Sige nga, pakwento nga dito sa talinong angkin nitong COVID-19 na to.
Una, walang utak yung COVID-19 na yan. Dapat mas mautak tayo.
Gaano karami po ba ang nadagdag sa ating populasyon na tulad ng inaasahan natin?
Ito ay mas mababa kaysa nung 2019.
Sila ang source ng pinag-uusapan ngayon. ASPN.
Bawal ang bata except for yung essential travel or for work, hindi ba?
Maaasahan ho ba na ating mga healthcare workers na bago po magtapos ang taon, yung kanilang mga benepisyo po ay maibibigay na po sa kanila?
Yung ibang mga opisyal, naroon pa rin sila at nakaupo pa rin sa PhilHealth. Have they been administratively charged?
May mga kaso na ito.
Sa DICT, all the LGUs, as long as nagpabakuna ka, binibigay nila yung record na yon sa DICT.
Ano sa palagay nyo? kasama sina Ali Soto at Pat Pindaza.
Ibig sabihin po, ang pamahalaan ay hindi maaring makialam. Dahil gusto mo parang may emergency intervention. Ang gobyerno pwede humimasok. Talaga bang totoo, isasarado muna ang Dolomite Beach?
Yes, sarado na po siya until November 3. We're trying to look at it kung paano naman namin kakasuhan din pabalik itong kusyana na ito.
Salamat po sa inyo, sa inyong suporta sa PNP at para sa ating mga kapulisan.
Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga. Simulcast sa Net25.
Kasi pag kumuhay ka ng ganyan, kumakalembang yung mga dito mo.
DZEC 1062 Mega Manila. Eagle FM 95.5. Facebook at YouTube.
Ito ang pampatanggal ng stress nyo. Hayop sa katatawanan.
You want palo? Takom?
Alam po yan. Buti na lang, resourceful tayo mga Pinoy. Basta walang basagan ng trip. It's a trap.
So, ibig sabihin, nagkakagusto ka talaga ngayon na, ha?
Hindi lang naman eh. Dito lang sa Funniest Nakaball Videos.
In Moscow, Russia, Iglesia ni Cristo launched Iglesia ni Cristo there. Iglesia ni Cristo members continuously intensified the works of propagation as they participated in the worldwide activity launched by the Church of Christ in the Worldwide Aid to Humanity. Here is Emmy Coloma for the report.
Despite the pandemic experience around the world, including Russia, the Church of Christ held a Lingap sa Mamamayan or Aid to Humanity. And in connection with the celebration of the birthday of the Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo B. Manalo, in solidarity in helping our countrymen or fellow human beings, and in led by the assigned minister, Brother Rex Smith Chris Catalasan, took devotional prayer and preparation for the Lingap sa Mamamayan or Aid to Humanity with the members of Iglesia ni Cristo. Iglesia ni Cristo members enthusiastically united in distributing Lingap to our countrymen, providing basic necessities for the current situation to be preserved and used on travel, such as face masks, sanitary wipes, soap, and some grocery items. Our fellow men are happy and thankful that they are also invited to listen to the teachings of the Word of God in Iglesia ni Cristo. The Iglesia ni Cristo in this country continues to be in solidarity with such activities and continues to distribute and help those in need. EBC Russia Bureau, this is Emmy Coloma, and we live in interesting times.
On the birthday of the Iglesia ni Cristo's executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, the Church of Christ extended relief to OFWs in Bahrain. The Aid to Humanity event took place at the Philippine Embassy there. We have Lorlene Kalimlim reporting.
Of the Iglesia ni Cristo or Church of Christ here in the Kingdom of Bahrain, in coordination with the Philippine Embassy and our office, are conducting Aid to Humanity as part of their advocacy of helping people in distress. The activity started with brief messages from the Consul General of the Philippine Embassy and the representative of the Church of Christ. Around 300 numbers of goodie bags consisting of grocery items and rice are being distributed at the Embassy Lounge. Community sa pagkakataon na ito na binigay nila para maging kabahagi kami sa programa upang makatulong po sa ating mga kabayan. Sa dami ng beneficiaries na target po para sa umagang ito, talagang kinakailangan sumunod pa rin tayo sa health and safety protocols. Kaya limited yung kumbaga yung bilang ng mga tao na pumupunta kada oras. So, medyo mahaba yung magiging programa kasi talagang kailangan i-space out natin yung mga pupunta para maka-observe po tayo ng proper safety and health protocol.
Due to COVID-19 pandemic, many of the Filipino workers have been affected and reaching out for help. Some have lost their jobs, some are forcibly sent back home, others are in the status of no work, no pay, or working yet not receiving any income.
Sa part naman po ng embassy, meron tayong mga nakalipas na mga programa sa pagtugon sa pandemya. Kasama po dyan yung Bayanihan para kay Kabayan program natin last year. Parang ganito rin po, nagpamigay tayo ng care packages at kasama din natin ang iba't ibang organisasyon ng Filipino community sa naging programang iyon. Maraming mga nag-donate at tumulong na magpamigay. Mayroon din na on their own na nagkaroon sila ng sarili nilang mga programa. On the part of Polo and OWA, meron din tayong naging ayuda para sa ating mga kabayan na nawalan ng trabaho. And of course, patuloy yung repatriation program. Last year, nagkaroon tayo ng special chartered flight. Sa ngayon, ngayong taon, ang repatriation program natin ay through regular commercial flight. Ang embahada ay nakikipag-ugnayan sa Gulf Air para medyo mapababa natin ng konti ang presyo at isa pa, para magkaroon tayo ng exemption doon sa seat allocation sa pagpasok sa Pilipinas. Pinatutupad naman yan ng IATF. So, yun ang isa sa mga itutulong natin na programa para sa ating mga kababayan.
Maraming salamat sa Iglesia ni Cristo sa isinagawang pamimigay o worldwide aid to humanity dito sa bansang Bahrain. Siyempre po, binabati po namin ang pamunuan ng Iglesia ni Cristo sa kanyang kaarawan sa ginagawang pamimigay ng ayuda sa ating mga kababayan. It usually coincides sa kanyang kaarawan po. And this is worldwide. So, maraming salamat kasi ito ay malaking tulong sa ating mga kababayan, lalo't higit sa panahon ng pandemya.
One of the teachings of our Lord God, taught to us by our Lord Jesus Christ, is to show our love to our fellow men. The Church of Christ, through the leadership of our beloved executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, have this aid to humanity to show our true love and care for our fellow men, not only here in Bahrain, but all over the world, wherein we have local congregations of the church. But the most important of all that we share to our fellow men are the words of God written in the Bible that will help us to attain salvation on the day of judgment.
Ako si Roda Ridaha. Ang experience ko nung panahon ng pandemic, nawalan ako ng trabaho ng 5 buwan. Marami akong pinasukan ng trabaho, iba-iba. Minsan sa hotel, minsan maghuhugas ng plato, mag-aalaga ng pusa, minsan nagmamasahe. Kaya nakasurvive din ako. At saka sa tulong din ng mga kapatid, kay Lisa, siya yung tumutulong sa akin pag tinatawagan niya ako para sa mga pag-ayuda ng mga panahon na yun. Malaking tulong ko para sa akin at para sa mga kababayan din natin.
At syempre, naranasan po namin yung mga wala po kaming sahod ng 1 buwan para po makita yung flow ng aming business.
Then, pagkatapos naman po nun, ganun pa din. Minsan po, isang buong buwan, wala po kaming kasahod. Naman po namin hanggang sa meron kami nakakain na naiitabi. Ang ganitong mga pagtulong po na aming nakikita, isa din po ito sa mga nakakatulong sa amin sa pagraos po namin sa pang-araw-araw. Maraming salamat po sa mga ganitong mga tulong na natatanggap po namin sa iba't ibang sekta ng mga grupo dito sa Bahrain. Isa na rin po dito ang mga kapatiran po sa Iglesia ni Cristo. Maraming salamat.
Helping people, sharing, and giving the basic necessities of life is a good deed. Therefore, whenever you possibly could, don't wait, but act now. From the Kingdom of Bahrain, this is Lauren Kalimlim, Aid to Humanity, special coverage.
Although Finland is considered one of the most developed countries in the world, it wasn't spared by the ravages caused by the pandemic. The Iglesia ni Cristo also launched a Lingap or Aid to Humanity there, as reported by our EBC correspondent, Christina Sumawang Kenanan. Christina.
Finland is a country located in the northern part of Europe, known as the country of 1,000 lakes, having a population of 5.5 million. The worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan project has reached this Nordic country. The Iglesia ni Cristo members on the 31st of October held the Lingap Mamamayan program in a rented hall in the capital city of the country, Helsinki. Even though the country is considered one of the developing countries, the pandemic has caused people living in here uncertainty and even unemployment. The officers of the congregation in Helsinki believe that with the humble goodie bags that they have shared to the people, they could show them that the church care, and with hopes that these small acts can bring joy to them. According to their church officer, Mr. Romeo Bueno, the importance of this activity for him is that through this, he can follow the words of God, also to show their unity to their church administration, and to continuously send help to their countrymen. The people who have received the goodie bags have shown their appreciation not only to the members of Iglesia ni Cristo in Finland, but to the whole program of the church worldwide.
Reporting from Helsinki, Finland, this is Christina Sumawang Kinonen. We live in interesting times.
Thank you so much. And the aid to humanity continues all over the world. That's it for tonight's broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I am CJ Hero. The news continues tomorrow.
And at the end of the day, there remains so much more to be grateful for. We'll see you back tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles, and
we live
in interesting times.
This program is supported by SMC Global Power.
Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.